Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel Sharpen. My name is Robert Hall, and today Steve and I are going to go over some of our favorite ways to customize Capture One. Let's dive into Capture One with the most powerful feature that is not available on other popular library software, and that is keyboard shortcuts, or more specifically, customizable keyboard shortcuts. If you don't know, a keyboard shortcut or macro is the action of pressing a key on your keyboard to control a function in software. And in Capture One, you can do that to pretty much anything. In the top left, I'm going to click the Edit key and go to Edit Keyboard Shortcuts, which will pop open the sub menu. And by default, you will see Capture One default. Now, when you go to adjust these for the first time, it will prompt you the moment you go to type in here and mess with anything. You're gonna get this prompt: the default sets cannot be overwritten. First thing you have to do is make a custom set. That way, the defaults are safe and you can always go back to them. And this is a good point to remind you guys that you should have zero fear about going through and modifying Capture One to suit your needs better. You should try to customize it. If you mess up or you misplace something or you feel weird, you can always go back and restore defaults. Default sets cannot be overwritten, so that means that we have to start with a custom set. I already have Rob's customs. The crazy thing is, if you start expanding these sub menus, you'll see that there are so many options that you can program a key to. Now, a really cool thing is, say, deselect primary. I wanted that to be my Y key. There's going to be a warning on the bottom here. Y is used by before, after, and will be reassigned. So it lets you know before you overwrite anything. So there's no possibility that one key can use multiple functions. So I encourage you to browse through all of these options. A, so you can see all the different options that you have, but B, you can see what sticks out that may not have a macro assigned to it, or it has a really complex macro that you would like to change for something simpler. And also allow you to see things that you never use that you can just clear. I don't need a macro for that. Just clear out, hit the X on the macro, and you can get rid of that. Like here, for instance, Control K, capture. This is my home editing computer. I never tether on here, so I will never need to capture with a camera on here. I can get rid of Control K and I can apply Control K to something else if I want to. Now, you don't have to just go through all of these to try and find a function or a key that's being used. Up top here, you can search by either command or key. So if I want to find out, well, what's using the E key? So if I switch this to key and I hit E, it'll tell me that Erase Mask and Magic Eraser use E, Exposure Warning uses Control E, and Edit All Selected uses Control Shift E. And if instead I'm looking for a function like crop, can type that in, and under the composition tab, it'll tell you that crop uses the C key. And I love that this whole search function is baked right into the software, because I've used other softwares where you have to search online and try and find the macro for it, and you end up at a weird article. It's not what you need. That's a pain. This makes it really easy. Now, in addition to the regular shortcut keys, that is any key press or grouping of key presses, pressing 2 or 3 keys, there is also speed edit keys, which is a hold function that is used in addition to a mouse click. The reason I love speed edit keys is it allows you to look directly at your image. If I'm holding the Q key, I can go to the right, bring my exposure up, go to the left, bring my exposure down. But the point is, I can do it visually by just looking at the image, letting go where I think looks perfect. Now, I think the speed edit keys are laid out perfectly. So your exposure adjustments are grouped together on the top row. Your dynamic range, shadow, highlight, recovery is all grouped together on the middle row. Clarity and levels are on your bottom row. The only thing that I added was sharpening. I added sharpening to key number 3, just so I didn't have to pop over to a different menu just to add sharpening. So make sure when you're checking out the macros to go over the speed edit keys and make sure that all the functions, all the sliders that you like to use are mapped out to different keys. You can also add some of the ones that aren't used, like structure and dehaze, if that's something that you use frequently, but just know by default those sliders do not have a speed edit key. All right, now let's talk about modifying your workspace. The workspace is everything surrounding your image. The tools at the top, the panel on your left, the panel on your right, all of that is the workspace, and all of it is customizable. I'm going to reset to defaults, which you can do at any time by going Window, Workspace, Default. And now I have, just like if you're downloading the software for the first time, this is exactly what you would see in Capture One Pro 22. So there are 6 tool tabs: Library, Tether, Shape, Style, Adjust, Refine. First thing that you can do, if you don't use any of them, you can delete them. So like I said, I don't tether on this home computer. I'm going to delete this tool. Remove Tether tab. I also don't use the Shape tool tab because I use the crop and rotate options up here, accessed by keyboard macros. So I don't need that one either. Now, once you're down to the tool tabs that you actually use, you can also modify each of the tool tabs. There's two ways you can do it. One, you can get rid of specific tools on each tool tab. Say you never use dehaze. I literally never touch this, so I'm not worried about it. I can right click it, click remove dehaze tool, and now it's gone. If you want to bring something back, right click, add tool, dehaze, and then you can rank it wherever you want. So this is great because you can clear out all of the tools that you don't want, and then you can also prioritize what you use the most. So for me, I don't really think that the histogram is super important if I have curves open. So if I remove the histogram tool and bring my curves to the top, now my curves are there and I still feel like I get a great visual representation of the histogram. And finally, what if you're only using a few tools, but they are on different tool tabs? So you're constantly bouncing around between like refine, maybe just to access sharpening, library just to access the filters, and adjust just to access the color editor and curves. Well, you can also create your own tool tab. So add tool tab, custom tool tab, name it stuff I use. And now if I click right here, we have an empty tool tab that we can add any tools to. So what did I just say we want? We want curves. We want our filters in our library. We want our color editor, and we want sharpening. And now I have a tool that has all the functions that I need without having to go between these different tool tabs. And honestly, if you really dial this in, then you can go ahead and just remove all of them and only have the one tool tab on the left here. Now there's some other things you can modify, such as there are some gaps up here that you can add tools to. So if I right click up here and click customize, this little sub menu will pop up and I can add these features to any of these spaces up here that are outlined. So I could grab annotations and bring it right here. Big rotate buttons, rotate 90 degrees left and right. The customize toolbar option, that's a little bit redundant. But yeah, there's some extra gaps that you can fill here, and once you have put some things that you use up there, just click done and that's gonna save. Another really great thing about the workspace is that any of these can float. So say you're working on a bunch of vertical images, you can bring this curve tab here, you can increase or decrease its size, we'll keep it out of the way. And now I can go through these photos and adjust my curves right up here as opposed to moving to the other side of the panel. Of course, you can modify the width of the browser over here on the right. You can also change the size of the thumbnails. You can either do this like dynamically as you edit, or you can just set up preferences that you like. Another thing that you can do is go to View, Customize Browser, and if you click place right here, or you can hit Control-Shift-B, that's such a specific keyboard shortcut, but we can click and move it to the bottom. So if you'd rather have these on the bottom, say you're working with landscape orientation images, maybe this works better for you. And this has nothing to do with customization, but the keyboard shortcut Control Space brings up the little loop dynamically, so you can just move it around as opposed to navigating to loop with the P key and then having to click and hold to view. And that's just one of my favorite functions. I use that all the time. Just Control Space, view, rather than holding space, double clicking into a shot. Just a little random tip to throw in there. And finally, once you get your workspace dialed in exactly how you like, if you go up here to Window, Workspace, Save Workspace, like this, give it a name, click Save, and now that workspace is saved. And you can even create different workspaces for different editing tasks. So say you have different preferences for tethering, culling, editing, and retouching, you can make a workspace for each of those and very quickly just go Window, Workspace, and hit the one that you want. I wonder if there's keyboard shortcuts to change workspaces. That would be meta. Dang. Alright guys, I'm about to send you over to Steve, but this is a good time to mention that this video is done in collaboration with Capture One, and if you are interested in trying out this software, downloading it for the first time, you can get 20% off of either licenses or subscriptions using the link in the description below and then entering in the coupon code SHARPEN20. And just like last time, that coupon code is limited to the first 100 people that sign up, so if you are interested, make sure to act fast. Alright, I'm going to send it over to Steve. Thanks again, Capture One.
Thanks, Rob. So I'm coming to you from the studio today because I want to talk to you about my favorite function, my favorite feature, and the reason why I switched over to Capture One, tethering. Yes, tethering is by far the coolest thing that Capture One offers, in my opinion, and I use it all the time, so I'm a big fan. And what I found with other workflows that I had, there were a couple things that I was lacking. The number one thing that I was lacking was reliability. Losing a connection in the middle of a session and having a client looking over your shoulder being like, what's going on? And you go, I don't know, it's just not working. Being able to eliminate that, weight off your shoulders. So when I switched to Capture One, that was basically what I got first and foremost, was reliability. Not only that, but speed and just overall efficiency of the production of the shoot. Either your crew or your client can view, or yourself can view in a larger view, zoom in for details, know that you got the shot, get it approved, mark it with a star, whatever it is that you need to do. It's just an overall better approach, in my opinion. And now let me just show you the little set we got going on over here. So real basic, nothing crazy. Just got a couple beer cans hanging out. I've got just a simple key light set up, and then I've got a little rim light over here. I'm using these duo boards from V-Flat. These are awesome if you haven't used these before. They're just really nice for tabletop. They give you lots of options and just easy and fast to set up. That's what I'm all about. So I'm going to put this little bounce card back up over here. On the camera, I've got a 90mm tilt shift. Not that that matters that much. Use the lens of your choice. This is the one I like using for a lot of product work. And I'm shooting on the R5. The R5 has a USB-C connection that I have connected right over here, and then it's plugged into the back of my iMac over here. Okay, so we're over here at the computer, and now I want to walk you through the process of setting up Capture One so that way we can start to do some tethering. So first and foremost, what I do is I create a session. So I'm going to start by holding the Option key, clicking on Capture One, and that's going to prompt me here to create something new or open something existing. I want to make a new session here. And we're going to put this on the desktop. Perfect. And let's call this Beer Can. Great. And you can see the capture name down here at the bottom is already titled what I've titled my session file. So by default, it's going to do that. You know, if you want to include a date, or if you want to include like a client name, a project name, etc., or whatever you want to name it, know that your capture name is going to default to whatever you name your session. If you want to change that, you could change that right here. Now, you'll see that there are some presets here. There's a capture, a selects, an output, and a trash folder. Capture is where your images go, where they're captured, of course. Selects, I'll show you how you make some selects. Output is when you export. It's a way for you to have everything kind of self-contained. Like I said, all in that one space. And then trash, same thing there. So when you delete it, it doesn't actually go to your system trash. It goes to your session trash. Here we go. Here's our capture folder. Nothing in there because we haven't done any capturing yet. Up at the top left over here, I'm going to come over to Tether. When I click on that, I want to make sure that I have my camera turned on, because right now it tells me that there's no camera available. So 1 second. OK, turn on the camera, and within seconds, it detects it. It even shows me the lens that I'm using, which is really, really cool. And what's also cool is you can control the settings right here. I can adjust my shutter speed, my aperture, my ISO. You can also connect more than one camera at a time. Now you might say, well, Steve, why would you ever want to do that? I just want one camera. Well, I've done it a couple times where I've had one camera that does a 3/4 or head-on shot and one camera that does an overhead shot. And I could very easily and quickly toggle between those two cameras just from the computer and capture and adjust settings as needed. So right here, we've got everything set up the way that we want to have it set up as far as just getting into taking a picture. Now, how do you do that? Well, there's a couple ways you can do that. You just click on this round button right here. I actually prefer to use the keyboard shortcut, Command K, for, you know, capture. Sure enough, within a couple seconds, boom, 45 megapixel file is now ready for me to examine and take a look at. I'm just going to pop open the loop tool and just confirm sharpness. Oh yeah, it's looking great. Counterweight beer, if you're not familiar, delicious, delicious New England beer. And the Five Houses, that was a special from Coheed and Cambria show that they did over here, College Street, New Haven. Very tasty beer. Shot looks okay. It's not going to win any awards. I know that. That's all right. But for demonstration purposes, I want to show you how we could then potentially refine this, make adjustments, things like that. Or what would we do if we want to kind of further expand this shoot? So let's say I have a stylist on set with me, which I have many times, and they want to start manipulating things on set. Well, wouldn't it be nice if they could see what the camera sees, right? A lot of times you'll have a client off to the side and they'll start tweaking things at a completely different angle that the camera doesn't see. Or even the stylist will come in and start noodling things that don't actually show up on camera. So that is where one of the coolest functions of tethering with Capture One comes in, is this live preview. So I'm going to click on this, and right now I am viewing the camera in real time, and I'll just wave in front of it so you can see it. Again, if a stylist is on set and they want to start manipulating the can, I can turn the computer to face the set. Stylist can come over and in real time see what they're doing, make those adjustments, I'm collaborating with them, they're collaborating with me. It's a full collaboration. A much faster way than taking a shot, looking at it, manipulating it, taking a shot, looking at it, manipulating it, etc. So now we're in much better shape. So let's go ahead and get an updated shot. I'm going to close this live view, Command K. We got our new shot. I'm going to turn off my grid. We don't need to see our grid right now. So you can see that change as it comes in here. So now I could just very quickly look between these two shots. Now I would argue this shot needs a little bit of contrast. So let's come over to our adjustment here and let's just do that. Let's boost up some contrast here. And let's maybe say we want to take those reds a little bit more into the orange space. So let's do that right here. And maybe we desaturate just a little bit, give it a little bit more mood. Maybe it's just that blue that's a little bit too saturated for me. I pull that down. Now what's really cool is that all those adjustments that I just made are now going to be continued on from the next shot and every shot after that. So that's this setting right over here, next capture adjustments. So you can see right here, other, copy from last. So whatever manipulation I just did, if I do Command K, it's going to pull in those edits. Now let me just move the shot so you can see the difference. Take another shot here. And you can see the before and after. Now, real subtle changes. Let's do something really, really drastic so that way you'll, without a doubt, see it and really get it dialed home. So let's go into the adjust. Let's maybe go into color balance. Let's boost these blues. There we go, something maybe like this. So now we're getting much moodier. So now if I take another shot, so this is just an awesome way for you to be able to make those adjustments in real time, especially when a client is on set and they go, that's a little different. You go, hold on a second, let me tweak it, let me show you like this, right? And they go, yeah, that's much better. You go, awesome. Every shot after that is going to have that. Now, something to be in mind is that you might have forgotten about some adjustments you made and that now you're preserving that. So if at any point in time you ever need to reset, Command R brings you right back to the default from out of camera. Now, what's also cool is if I wanted to, I could come in and just start applying some styles, right? So if I want to have a style applied to this, I don't know if maybe I want to come over to, let's go into these springs here. Let's see, ooh, actually, that's cool. Oh, I like that one. So now I have the ability to start utilizing styles that you can create in Capture One by basically saving a series of adjustments that you've made. There are some presets in here. There are some awesome presets that you can get from Capture One. This is just a really, really cool way for you to be able to get the image where you want it to be and see it in real time. So if you're especially out on location and you want to have this sort of bright and airy, desaturated yellow, whatever it might be, look in real time, your client or yourself, you can see it as you're capturing it. That for me is just a tremendous thing, because then also what it does is it saves me time in post. My post work is done. This is what I want it to look like. The client approved it. It's good to go. I don't need to do anything else. I could just publish this, right? We're done. Well, before we publish it, let's say maybe the client says, oh, you know what, we got to think about social, right? We got to make sure that this can get on our social posts. So let's make sure it will fit for that square aspect ratio. You go, sure, cool, no problem. Let's go back over to live view. I'm going to come over to Tether. Let's go to live view. What I'm doing right now is looking for composition. So I can come over here to this thing called an overlay. Now I've created something already right here. I just went into Photoshop and I just made this little overlay, basically a transparent PNG. I'm going to drop it where it says drop image here. And now look what it's done is I basically created a file that is a 2:3 aspect ratio. And then inside of that, I created some letterboxing for a 1:1, right? A square aspect ratio. So now I can see that, well, this doesn't work for the composition because the logo is top center. That's what the client gave me, or let's say the designer gave me. And I got to make sure that this fits. So no problem. I can come over here, start making adjustments. Now we've got the shot, Command K. Now, when I'm looking at the image here, it's showing me that overlay. I can just turn that off. This is not saved on your image. This is just that, an overlay. Let's say we had a whole lineup of beers that we needed to shoot, and we wanted them all to be exactly the same. Let's just say. Well, what I could do is I could take an image that I captured, set that as an overlay, and then match each beer can perfectly as they should be sequentially for every single shot. So that right there is why I love Capture One. The ease and simplicity of tethering on location, on set, showing the client there real time, your team, your stylist, yourself, everyone sees the shot on a large screen and you know what you're getting. Now, I mentioned the client being right there. Well, what if the client isn't right here? What if the client's remote? I think now more than ever, clients are remote and they realize I don't necessarily need to be on set. Let's just start up a Zoom call. Who's been there? Because that sucks. Zoom call, you could share your screen. It's not the same thing. They're seeing the process. Maybe they don't understand what's happening. They're looking at the live view like, what's going on? Well, Capture One fixed that. So Capture One created Capture One Live. So now what I can do is I can publish these images to the web. If I click on right up over here, it's now going to ask me, okay, what do I want to publish? So I want to publish, let's just say, my capture folder. But let's say I didn't want the client to see everything. I just wanted them to see the selects. So let's publish just the selects folder, and then I'll show you how we make selects. So we're going to publish the selects folder. When does this expire? It's going to expire in a day. You guys have a day to make your picks. Don't need to give it a password right now. That's OK. Watermark settings. Benefit here, right, is if you're remotely sharing this with someone, you don't want them to just grab that image, right? You want to make sure that it can be protected. So you have the option to put on a watermark here. I'm going to hit Start Sharing. And then what it's going to do is it's going to take my selects folder, everything that's in there, and it's going to publish it. So now I have this link right here. I'm going to copy this link. I'm going to open it up in a browser. And now you can see I'm looking at it. Well, it tells me there's nothing here because I didn't put anything in my selects. So let's make a select. Let's come back over to Capture One. Let's say I like this one. So I'm going to do Command J. And it tells me, you're moving a file. It's no longer going to be in your capture folder. It's going to your selects folder. Is that OK? And I go, yep, sure is. Pop it over there. And I really liked this last one, too. Command J. And maybe let's do this one, too. Command J. So now if I come over to my library and I look at my selects, you can see I now have these 3 images in here. Let me just show you. If I come over here to the actual session, I have my capture folder with my images in there. But now in my selects folder, they're actually being moved over there. So that's, again, one of the benefits of using a session is that everything is self-contained. So if I just grab this one folder titled Beer Can, that's going to grab all of my capture, all of my selects, all of my output, everything, and I can move it along from computer to computer. So now I'm going to go back over to that website, take a look, boom. Look at that. Those images are right there. And now, if I'm a client, I'm looking at this and I go, ooh, that's nice. This one's nicer, and I don't really like that. So maybe I've instructed the client, if you don't like something, mark it with a red, right? You could establish whatever kind of rules or guidelines or parameters that you'd want to have. And when you're here viewing as the client, right, I have the ability to filter, right? Show only photos with comments, or only show me the images that are marked with red. Let me see all the trash. Let me see all the garbage. Or only show me my 2-star selects. Maybe it's my 3-star selects because those are my favorites. So it's a way for you to be able to tell them to start to narrow down, even though you've already narrowed it down for them by only giving them access to the selects folder. So in the world of remote, Capture One Live is the absolute solution if you are on set or on location and you want to make sure you can share these images with someone else who just can't be there. OK, shoot's done in the studio. Now I'm over here on my laptop. I want to do some remote editing. And remember, because it was all on a session, I loaded it up on an external hard drive, open it up here in Capture One, and everything is exactly as I left it. Now, there's the one image that I was really digging, this one right here, and I want to tweak it a little bit more. I liked how it was delivered, let's say it was all good, but I want to play with it a little bit more, and I don't want to be tied down by my laptop. I know, crazy to say tied down by your laptop, right? But I have the ability to go even more remote and even more mobile because Capture One came out with a version on the iPad. Yes, I've been waiting for this one. And it's brand new, and it's a way for you to add raw files, manipulate them. I'm personally going to send it over through iCloud or use Dropbox, whatever kind of transfer service you'd want to do to get it onto my iPad, to import that raw file and play around with that. And I want to show you what that looks like. All right, so I just made myself a cup of coffee, hanging out here, about to get into some of these edits. So let me just show you quickly what this looks like. And I'm really excited for the development of Capture One on the iPad. But here we go. I'm going to import this image. Capture One on the iPad. Yes, please and thank you. So let me just kind of quickly show you some of these functions here. Again, the ability to kind of work how you want, saying, okay, this is all I need to carry. This is all I want to have. And I can load up a whole bunch of images. It's just really cool to know now that you have ultimate portability. All right, so we've got it imported. I'm just going to go ahead and tap on it here. And now I can start going through the adjustments that I have. Now there are some styles that you can load up here, or you can utilize existing styles. Remember, I think I was digging, maybe it was the 2 or the 3, something like that. I can start adjusting my rotation. I think it's pretty straight. I think it's looking pretty good. My white balance, also you can come over here and you can make your adjustments to your metadata, right? Star ratings, color tags, things like that. And the exposure, your black and white, your white balance. Let's just play with the white balance. I'm going to tap and hold on the white balance on the left hand side. I'm going to try to dial that in. That's looking pretty good. I think that's close to where we were. Let's try the tint as well. Yeah, I think we were pretty good. Exposure, the controls that you would expect to see in exposure. Let's get our contrast in here. I think I need to come in and adjust my shadows, so I'm going to come over to my HDR. Yeah, open up those shadows a little bit, but then bring those blacks down a smidge. So I'm just tapping and holding. You could alternatively use the dial on the right side and make your adjustments there, so it's going to give you a little bit more of like a fine tune because it's a larger wheel here. I like using it on the left hand side mainly because I'm left-handed. Now if you're not left-handed, you could adjust that. Top right corner, tap on those 3 dots, tools, put them on the right hand side. I like them on the left hand side. And my color editing. So here what I do is I select the color, and then on the right hand side I could target that color, and then I can adjust the amount of saturation and lightness for that specific color. Yeah, let's make this a little brighter here. Come back to the colors. If I want to sample that color, I could grab that and then start adjusting as I like right there. Yeah, I want to keep that more in the oranges. Vignetting, sure, let's pop on a little vignette day. So there we go. And as intuitive as it probably seems, if you tap and hold, that'll give you a before, and then if you let go, that'll give you an after. If you double tap, that'll zoom you in, double tap to zoom back out. So that's it, tethering workflow efficiencies. This is the way that I go about capturing images, editing images, sharing images, collaborating on images, and I'm excited to introduce the iPad into my workflow. So be sure to subscribe, hit that bell for Sharpen, new updates, not only with Capture One, but all the things that we're bringing to you. We'll see you in the next one.